Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Jack and Jeremy podcast. We're on episode 13. Lucky 13, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned to us. Um, Today, we're going to talk about what I call non-traditional living, basically approaches to living your life outside of, at least in the U.S., the kind of dogma that is go to school, go to college, maybe graduate degree, start working, family, work till you're 65, 70, retire if you can, and then enjoy life in that retirement period. And maybe, along the way, you take a week off here and there to go somewhere warm and forget about your troubles. And part of the reason we're talking about this is Jeremy has a wealth of experience living just in different ways outside of the typical norm. And something that I'm exploring more and more is because of COVID and my situation, I'm not tied to a lease. And so I'm really fortunate that like I have places that I can stay. I've been staying with family. I'm in Florida right now. I'm staying with one of my best friends. And, don't get me wrong, it's not like bougie or something like that. I'm sleeping on couches and air mattresses, but, I'm not tied to a lease. So like if I want to go somewhere, I want to do something, it's not like I'm worried about double rent. And I'm talking to one of my good friends who I'm thinking about living with when the time comes, when his lease is potentially up. But before we signed the lease, he was talking about traveling. And we're not going to get into like the COVID, like, oh, should you travel or not? That's not part of the conversation. But one of the things when we started doing research was we found this resort area in Belize, which is just south of Mexico, I think near the Yucatan. And basically, for close to $1,500 a month, you can get like this nice room with like a full kitchen, and it comes with like all these amenities, like a gym. They have morning yoga classes, they have activities, and it's a digital nomad community. It's literally designed for people that are working, so it's not pure vacation. They're working, and they want to socialize, and so it's something that I'm starting to look into, and it just gets me thinking, like, is this a trend? Like, are we going to see more and more people as the work from home mentality like continues? If it does, or at least their jobs allow them to be remote, taking an approach that's almost like kind of like the Uber approach of I don't need a car. I can rent a car when I need it. I don't need an apartment. I can get apartments here and there and travel along the way because I don't need to be anchored anywhere. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we're going to be diving into today. Jeremy, what do you think?
In short, yes. To your question, that is this going to be a trend, something that increases and we see more of? So I actually saw recently, and I was just pulling it back up because I didn't want to mess the numbers up. We're going to be reaching 1 billion digital nomads by the year 2035. So in the next 15 years, we'll be reaching 1 billion digital nomads.
Billion?
1 billion. Which the thing is, I don't know what we're at right now, but I'd imagine it's not that many. I'll look it up again in a little bit.
Well, to put that in perspective, there's about just short of 1 billion people, or maybe right around 1 billion, in all of the Americas. So like India, we know there's a lot of people, China, but if you take the whole Americas, that whole land strip, not including the Panama Canal, which has had its issues recently, that's 1 billion people, all of them digital nomads.
11 million digital nomads in the U.S. right now. And the U.S. has a little bit less than like 1/16 of the population. Yeah, it's going to more than 10x. I can't do all the math too fast, but it's going to more than 10x in the next 15 years. So
now, just to clarify, when you say digital nomad, or do you mean just someone that has the capability or already is working remotely, or do you mean a digital nomad in the sense of someone that travels while they work remotely?
Repeat that question again.
So there's a bit of semantics, but I'm just trying to figure out, when they say digital nomad, do they just mean someone that is working remotely and also traveling, which is what I consider a digital nomad, like they're nomadic? Or does that just mean people that work remotely and therefore have the potential to be nomadic?
I believe it's the potential to be nomadic.
Okay. Interesting.
But the thing is, like, a lot of people work in the same city as their remote work now because they were forced into it for COVID, and then just stayed remote. Where a lot of remote work moving forward is going to be you're not going to be working for a company in your city. You're going to be working for a company wherever in the world. So like I think that'll make the term digital nomad even more defined, because like you're really working like you might be stationed in one place, but I would say too you're likely going to be moving around from place to place. Maybe not like day to day, which is probably what I would initially think of as a nomad, like, oh, every 2 days they go to a different city. But even if you move around yearly, that's pretty nomadic compared to today's lifestyle. So that was the short answer to your question is this gonna start trending? I definitely think it will start trending. We're predicting 1 billion. I think it could even be more. So I like the idea of being a digital nomad. I'm not, I tutor remotely now and I teach remotely now, and I kind of don't want to go back to teaching or tutoring in person again. Just the travel time is so much time, and you just have travel time, and then you actually have to like go early to make sure that you're there on time, and you end up spending a lot of time that you could be doing other things. Where with tutoring remotely, teaching remotely, I can go from class to class to tutor to tutor to tutor. Something that would maybe take me 2 days of workload, I can do in like a morning, where it's just, I think it's a game changer. Some things you kind of miss out on, but you make up for it in other benefits. So I want to be a digital nomad. I'm trying to get a Tesla Cybertruck. And the reason I mention this is because that I think is going to be a game changer for digital nomads as well. Not the Cybertruck per se, but just Tesla auto drive or full self-driving. And then especially the Cybertruck as well, though, there's going to be modifications that you can attach a trailer or like mobile living to your truck. So if that's the case and you have self-driving, I feel like you can, what I plan on doing when I get it, go to sleep in Philadelphia, wake up in Chicago, work remotely at like a cafe or a park in Chicago, go to bed in Chicago, wake up in Iowa, do something in Iowa. And I can honestly be traveling at all times without even really driving, like manually. So I'm not like wasting effort there. And then my living expenses are pretty low. Like I feel like real estate potentially could drop significantly in the next 10, 20 years, maybe a little bit more. I tend to like think things might happen a little faster than maybe they will. But with opening the roads and having full self-drive, commutes are going to become longer if there are still commutes, but a lot of people are going to be able to just travel all the time. And I think that's going to be a pretty appealing thing to do. And it's just going to increase this digital nomad trend more.
Yeah, so let's dive into the kind of the numbers a little bit. You talked about 1 billion people. I'll use my example that I pointed out in Belize. For about $1,500 a month, you can get an apartment with your own bathroom. I think you'll share the room and they'll have their own bathroom as well. So that's kind of the scene. The pictures look super nice. It basically looks like a hotel resort. And you have a social community. Like you're not living in a dorm room where it's like kind of grimy. Like this is like a nice resort type thing, and like a social community where you can meet people and like hang out and like you're in that environment. And so, that I think that's kind of like a starting point. Like if you if you can work from home and it is going to be almost identical in price for you to live in Cleveland or New York or Philly or wherever you live. But it's going to be identical to living there compared to like living in Belize, going to Colombia, going to parts of Mexico, going like wherever else, going to other parts in the U.S., going to like parts in Florida when it's cold in the Northeast, going to Denver and like Colorado to go hiking and like things like that. Like if the price is going to be similar or financially it's not much of an obstacle or things like that, do you think that we're going to start seeing a wave of people kind of thinking to themselves, why am I locking myself into a yearly lease?
Yes, definitely. But also at the same time, that might not last as long or be as advantageous as like some might think. So you're saying like, oh, you'll get paid these wages, but you can live here. I've seen, because this trend is like expediting this year, there's a lot of companies in San Francisco. And obviously San Fran was like the epicenter of extreme wages because very high cost of living. People were moving at the beginning of COVID because everything went remote to, let's say, Iowa. And then companies were basically putting into their terms of service, whatever contracts, that you will be paid based on where you live. So if you live in Iowa, you'll be paid 80% of this salary. If you live in San Fran, 100. If you live in Philly, 75, whatever. Where I think that'll be an interesting thing. What if I think they're gonna do that, and that's gonna suck for some people. But then I would ask the question of like, what if my residency is the streets? Like I just go somewhere different all the time. Are you allowed to do that? Or are they gonna? That would be like the 50% wages. Like that would be the lowest. So you.
Well, I want to disagree. I think what you're saying definitely has some truth to it, and I definitely think that companies, some will act the part and do that and change your wage depending on where you live. With that being said, as someone who's done a startup and talks to other people, man, it can be really hard to find talent. And if you can find talent and they're working on your team, on your project, in your company, like playing that Scrooge McDuck game of, oh, like I'm going to pinch pennies because you're now in Oklahoma City compared to New York or whatever. I just think the market will figure that out. And the market's going to be like, if you're going to treat me like this and I'm a talented employee, I'll go somewhere else.
I think that's a fair point, but I still think it's gonna bring it could bring wages down. Maybe not will, but definitely could, because you're right, talent pool isn't that high right now when you're looking in your locale, right? When you guys were hiring, where were you looking? In Mexico near you because you had to commute. When you can hire globally, especially not just in America, which I'll be curious to see like what they'll restrict with visas or permits, work permits and whatever. Right now, you can't really just hire 20 Chinese people, 20 Russian people, 20 Koreans, 20 whatever, without like a lot of documentation and all of that. If you have complete global work, complete remote work, what's stopping? I have a few Filipino virtual assistants. They cost me $2 or $3 an hour. Why not have that for the teachers at Temple or in high school? High school teachers, they could outsource. You could get teachers for 1/10 the price who are just as qualified remote. So it's like, yeah, the talent pool seems like it's hard to get when you're restricted to a city, but when you're looking at the whole globe, especially with a growing global economy and a growing global like education system, like most like Africa and Asia is just at the beginning of a major boom. I believe Africa will have like 1 billion cell phones with internet within the next 10 years. That's 1 billion people who are more marketable and more employable than before. I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to find employees to fill roles. And I think what's going to happen is Americans are going to complain that their jobs are getting taken and that they deserve more money. But really, a free market is the best skilled person or the best wins.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. When my startup that operated in Mexico was actually looking for developers, so engineers, we made the conscious choice of being remote first for then. We had developers that were remote, and so really anyone that spoke Spanish was like that. We would take their application, and so we were more international than just our locale. But but the point you made is very truthful. And um, you know, something that I learned when I was down there was in Puebla, Mexico in particular, there is a number of German car manufacturers. Actually, I think more than just German car manufacturers, number of manufacturers as a whole, big manufacturing area. And these German car manufacturers, I was told this by one of the women who works there, is German, who's an expat, told me very frankly that they need to have these expats there because the talent pool in the region isn't good enough. They have to find like German talented individuals and convince them, obviously with money or whatever other benefits, to move to Mexico to be like boots on the ground. And that is something that is like a form of globalization. It's not as much like, oh, like we're on the internet and so, people don't need to leave the comfort of their homes. But yeah, like at the end of the day, like capitalism is going to require people to be effective at their jobs. I firmly agree with you on a lot of points that the globalized aspect of the world is going to like pay dividends for companies more so for people, unless you are one of the really talented people potentially. But at the end of the day, like kind of going back to like non-traditional living, I think younger people are more and more interested in spending money on experiences than on things. Uh, and I think that people will chase a more digital nomadic life, and like the companies may have to play catch up or do whatever else. But, I'm just thinking out loud here, like if you're a 22, 23-year old and you are from whatever state and you went in state for school and you get a job and it's fully remote and like you want to see the world, if the prices are the same and you're already remote oriented, I think we will actually see like industries start to build up to cater to these digital nomads. I think it's going to be very common to like, so in Australia and like Israel and a lot of these places, people will go on like gap years where they travel the world for a year. And I'm not saying it's going to be like that extreme, where it's like straight tourism for a year, but I'm saying like I do think we're going to see in like 5, 10 years for it to be very common where it's like, oh yeah, Jeremy just graduated from college. He's working here. And like maybe we'll see him in a few months because he's going to be traveling the East Coast, going to like all the cities and like spending a few weeks in like each of them or something like that. Like I think things may be headed in that direction. And I think companies will be catering to that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I also, so we're talking about like non-traditional living. Another non-traditional living lifestyle, I guess, that I like, that I think we'll hopefully see more of, or maybe we're already seeing a little bit more of. I don't have the numbers on it, but why I don't really understand why people work their whole life to retire when they're 60, 70, 80 years old, whatever it might be, and then live the last 10 or 20 years of their life in retirement, when usually you're a little bit more fragile, a little bit more just not as in good shape physically, and sometimes even mentally, where some people now, I believe Tim Ferriss wrote about it in his book, and is a big proponent of it, The 4-Hour Work Week, of working for a couple years, whatever it might be, stacking money, and then spending a sabbatical, like kind of gap years, but like scattered throughout your life, of exploration and fun or adventure or whatever it might be. So maybe like you work your 20s and then 30 to 31, you do something with your money that you've saved up, and figure it out. Then you do something again for 5 years, then you take another year off, or do something for 10 years. And I kind of like that non-traditional living as well, which again, I think could definitely, I think we're going to see a lot of changes over the next decade that no one will be able to predict. But with universal basic income, with a lot of automation, we already don't have careers nearly as long as our parents did. Most of our parents had jobs at 1, 2 companies, that's it. Most people our age now are changing jobs, companies every 3 years, 4 years. So will that change even more? Will people work less? Will people like just stop working altogether and just travel? It'll be interesting to see. I'm a proponent of taking off time as much as possible and enjoying your life.
Yeah. I've talked to a number of people whose parents or grandparents, or just even these older people that quote retire, and then in a couple months they're back to working because, for lack of better words, they're addicted to it, or frankly, they're just bored. They've been working the past 50 years, 40 years, whatever it is, and now all of a sudden they're not supposed to do anything. Me personally, I like I I'm not employed right now, but like I'm doing like a lot of things, and like the thought that I would just like wake up and not do things is kind of like torture. Like I write, I read, I research, I'm networking, I'm potentially entering like some consulting opportunities. But like my days are full and like exhausting, to be frank. So like the idea that like all of a sudden you get to the cliff and like things are done, like yeah, it's both terrifying and also like, yeah, you're older. So I think part of it is that like, yeah, it is tradition. And I think people will start to, as you suggest, take a more hands-on approach to living mini retirements. The whole world's a distribution curve. And so those all the way on the right, which would be like the really hardworking, borderline sociopaths, maybe they are sociopath, like CEOs that will just work, work, work. They will not care about, nurturing their relationships. They just want to get ahead. They want to be the CEO. They want to be the partner of the law firm. They want to be the managing director, whatever it is. So those people aren't going to do this. But like the people that maybe are a little bit further in the middle of the distribution curve, the people that are like, I don't live to work, or what is it? I don't work to live. Whatever the saying goes. The people that are like, yeah, like money is the result of me putting in my time, and money is a tool for me to have fun. And when I have enough tools stacked up where I can have some fun in the meantime, then I'm going to take advantage of it. Because I don't know, like, if I'm going to make it to 70, like, who knows what's going to happen in between. And so, hell, I got some money saved up. I really wanted to go to Southeast Asia. It's cheap. I don't even need to save up that much. I can spend 2 months in Vietnam. It'll cost me $2,000. And heck it, like, put in pause or resignation or whatever you want to call it and do it. So I think people will do that. One of the things that, I kind of want your thoughts on is that when I got to the law firm, it was almost like comical how within like a year, things are just crazy. Like your phone's going off all the time. Things are high stress, high pressure. Everyone wants something from you. And like me and a couple of friends, like I don't even know if we could say we were joking around, but we were talking about like how satisfying it would be to like put down our phones and like live on a farm and just be like, get back to like the simplicity of like not having these distractions. And I know we talked about this a little bit. Like in Israel, there's kibbutzes where like people, work the land, or they work like a factory, and it's communal living. It's something like that. And like part of me also thinks that like maybe that's like in it. Maybe we are going to see more and more people that are like, I don't get it. Why am I in this rat race? I'm not making like that much money anyway. Like if I can form a community of people that can, because we group together our resources and work the land and whatever else, we can have like sustainable farming and things like that. Like, do you think that that's part of like the alternative living in the future as well? Like people like kind of going back to a more like living off the land like approach instead of just being clogged up on their cell phones and, checking emails and just working in a cubicle?
Definitely. So that's definitely another trend actually being accelerated over the last year from COVID. And I didn't mention it before, but my Tesla Cybertruck, when I'm going to sleep in Philadelphia, it's going to be at my farm in Philadelphia, and I'm going to wake up at my farm outside of Chicago. I plan on having farms all over the country that I'll wake up at, because I kind of completely am of that mentality that farm life is kind of the way to go. Um, you just appreciate everything more when you actually work for it. And I feel like a lot of people these days in society are unfulfilled. And I think that if you grow your own food, if you work to like make yourself warm or provide for yourself in whatever way it might be, instead of just like sitting at a cubicle and making money to buy everything, I think that would really make a lot of people's happiness go up. And I think people are starting to realize that a little bit, and I definitely think it's gonna continue to trend for several reasons. Money being one of them, COVID being another, just like realizing that that's a fun mentality. There's some people, I'm part of a couple Facebook groups that are all about homesteading. A lot of people are farmers. There's definitely a small fraction of people who are doing it in case like shit hits the fan, they like to say, and they're like doomsday preppers or whatever. But there's definitely growing trends that I'm seeing in it. Prices of land have increased the last year due to it also.
So on a quick side note, I love the fact that you said that like when I have the Tesla Cybertruck, I will do these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like it's such a small thing, but from the books I read and things that I've been like researching, talking to yourself like that, or just even speaking out loud instead of saying like I will try to do this or I'll do my best, saying no, 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 I will, using more like active, like present state. Like it's not like I want money. It's like I have money. I will be successful, not I want. So I love the fact that you speak in that way because it's manifestation. It makes things happen a lot better or likely.
The Cybertruck might be like a Hot Wheels, and my farm might be like a square foot, but I'm gonna have it.
Yeah.
But what's it called? Let's wrap up. We're about at what we usually I'd say aim for. I don't want to be too long. I feel like if someone listened this far already, that's awesome and super appreciative of it. I don't really think I have anything to share that I learned this week, or nothing I can think of that's too great. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I got something. So I may have mentioned this person in the past, Sam Harris.
Mm,
Uh,
love Sam Harris.
he, yeah, he does a lot of great interviews. I basically call him a modern day philosopher. Really into meditation, a lot of things. But he has this kind of like 6 minute clip where it's called "The Last Time." And in it, he talks about how we never really know if things are going to be the last time. And I don't mean like morbid, like you get hit by a bus and like things are the last time, but more of he tells about like his daughter mispronounces a word and it's just like so cute. Like I think the word's like animals or something. And it's just like, childish toddler thing where like they're still developing and they just mispronounce it. And he's like, it's the cutest thing. And like to be honest, I don't really want to correct her because she will eventually say it correctly. And when that happens, for the last time, I will have heard her say it. And like the small part of like joy of hearing that will be gone. And I bring that up because this past week was Passover, or still is the first nights of Passover, and I was very lucky that me and my family were able to have a more traditional, not the size that former Passovers were, but the older people in our family have had the vaccines because they're up there in age. And so we were able to have a more traditional one. So my bubby, who's 90, I think 93, and my pops, who's 97, we got to spend the holidays with them, which is such a blessing.
Nice.
But beforehand, I was talking to my mom, and she said that my bubby was being a little emotional. And the reason she was being a little emotional is it became clear that she will really no longer be like organizing and like cooking for the most part, or hosting's the right word, like the high holidays. And it may seem like not a big deal to a lot of people, but think of it like this way. My family is very matriarchal, and we are, I'm not very religious, but like I am very Jewish, and I think only Jews will understand that. And for she's 90 something, for like 70 years, she's been like leading like the high holidays and like hosting them and like cooking and preparing them. She raised 4 kids and has almost 20 something grandkids and has a great grandchild. And before she even knew it, if she did it, before she even knew it, she had hosted her last high holiday. And like I heard this, and it was very sentimental to me because I was remembering that Sam Harris thing. And I just bring it up because maybe it's not necessarily something I learned, but we never know like when our last time is going to be. Maybe, God forbid, this is the last time Jeremy and I do this, or, who knows, last time you get to see whoever else it is. And so, not to get like too meta or emotional or like whatever it is, but, things that may seem like chores at one point, like hosting the high holidays or whatever it is, may one day be that gift that you didn't realize you will have for the last time. And so I kind of just like wanted to say that, or end on that note of you know uh, live in a state of gratefulness. I try. It's not always easy, because like you never really know when like that last time is going to come. And so yeah, that's I kind of just wanted to leave on that story and that sentiment.
Damn, making me want to cry or something. That was a good little insight though. I really like that. Well, thank you for leaving us with us with that. And I think that will be a wrap. If you guys listened to the whole thing, really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, request to be on the show. We're gonna have guests soon, and it'll be awesome. Maybe we'll have Bubby on. That would be pretty fun for the high holidays. So, Jack, thank you for another awesome week. I'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.